It's really easy to create text inside of the Floriani Total Control software. To do so, you just need to select the text tool. You want to select the text tool, then click somewhere inside of your design page. The moment you click inside the design page, it's going to automatically place the letter A on your screen. And you'll go over here to your properties box, and you'll notice that there is an A right here. That's just letting you know that that is the text that's created at the moment. So if you wanted to go in and you wanted to change this text, let's say you wanted to do the words cougar basketball, and you wanted the word cougar to appear above the word basketball, what you would do is you'd come in here and you would type in COUGAR, and then to make sure that it's above the word basketball, you would select enter on the keyboard. Again, I selected enter to get to the second row, and then I can type in the word basketball. Now I have all caps on, selected on my keyboard, so that it's in all capital letters. And you'll notice that right now the height is set at 20. I'm using an Arial font. I have 0% for the spacing. I'm going to go ahead and click apply, and then I'm going to come in and select to fit so that it fits inside of the screen. So let's say that you're not really happy with the text and you want it to be in a different font. You can come over into your, with it selected, you can come over into your fonts list and you can select a new font style, one that is more of what you were looking for. You can see then I just hit apply and it went ahead and it applied that new font to the design. Let's say that looking at this, it's a little hard to see, so I want to turn on my 3D view to get a better idea of how this is going to sew out and look once it is sewn out. Let me go ahead and let me select the text again. One thing that I wanted to point out is that I selected off of this text. So when I use my selection tool and I select it, you'll notice that I get this black box. You may or may not have noticed that when I first created the text, I had a lot of different colored shapes inside of each letter and in between the letters. And that's because when you're working with text, you get the ability, when you're working with a font inside the system, you get the ability to really get in and edit it and make changes to it. But you'll notice that when I click it this time that I don't have all those options, and the reason for that is because I just used the selection tool to select it. If I want to get into the editing properties of this text to be able to modify it a little bit more, all I need to do is make sure that I select my text tool again, and you'll notice the moment that I click on this that it changes. All of a sudden you have all these little elements in between the letters, and these are all different options that are available for editing this text that we'll get into in a little bit. I just wanted to point out to you that if you select it with just the selection tool, you do get different options than if you have it selected with the text tool. So we can come in here now. Let's say that we wanted a little bit more spacing in between these letters. I'm fine with the height of the text, but let's just say I wanted to change it to 17, so a little bit smaller, and I have the spacing set at 0. I'll just go ahead and put this at 5 for right now, and this is the line spacing. Let me go ahead and move that up to 75. And I'm just picking these numbers just to show you what it will do. Let me go ahead and hit apply, and you'll notice that there is more gap here. The font size changed, it got smaller, and it also created more space between the letters because I moved it from 0% to 5%. Let me go ahead and hit undo, and you can see the difference, and I'll hit redo again. So quick and easy. You can change the spacing. I could even come in here and do maybe a -15, hit apply, and what that does is it causes the two lines to overlap because I put in a negative value. Just want to show you that you can modify it. I can even create a little bit more space in between each letter. hit apply, and we'll go ahead and stretch it out a little bit more. Some of the other options that are available inside of the properties box, you'll notice that I can select the italic and hit apply, and it will actually italicize the lettering. Let me go ahead and click that off and hit apply again. You have optimizing colors, which there's only one color used here. We can go to stairs and hit apply, and that's just going to create it in a stair format. You will want to do that line by line, so let me go ahead and click this off. It doesn't work with two-line text. You would need it all to be in one line. And then you do have the option of starting it on the left hand side, meaning that the font is going to sew out from left to right. You have the option to change it from right to left, and you have the option to do it from center out. So let's go ahead and look at it from left to right, hit apply. I'm going to go up to my slow redraw because I want to see how this is going to sew out. So if I click the slider and move it across, you can see it goes from left to right. Let me go ahead and select this text again, and I'm going to now select right to left and hit apply. And let me go to my slow redraw here, and you'll see that it's actually going to go from the left to right, or from right to left, sorry. And let me go ahead and select the text again, and let me go from the center out and hit apply. View slow redraw, and you'll see that it's going to go from the center and work its way outward for both lines. That's helpful when you're working with putting in lettering onto baseball caps. It's usually better to go from the inside out rather than from left to right or right to left. So that is how you can modify the text inside of the properties box for the text tab. You do have the option to align items. Right now they're centered. If I align it to the left and hit apply, you'll notice that it lines it up to the left. Or you can choose right, and it will align the text up to the right. By default it is set at center. And the other option that you have is under type. You have the ability to change this to circular text or a monogram text. Let me go ahead and modify this a little bit. I just want to show you the word cougar. It's a little bit shorter, a little bit easier to work with. I'm going to hit apply so you can just see that I did that. And let me go to type and let me choose circle and hit apply. So what this does is this puts it in circular motion. You can see that I only have the regular text selection option. I'm going to go ahead and hit the T to make sure that I get the text editing features. As you can see that it created in a circular motion. There's a bunch of different ways in which you can edit it, and we will edit the text here in another lesson. Just want to show you that you can create a circular text in it by, in the properties box, selecting circle underneath the type. Some of the other options are you can come in and you can change all your settings. You can change your underlay for the text. You can change your push and pull compensation. You can change the type of stitch it is. Usually you don't really change this often for text, but one of the tabs that you will notice that you'll use a lot will be in the commands tab, because inside the commands tab you have the ability to create a basic tie-in stitch. So when each letter starting out, it will actually put in a tie-in stitch so it locks the thread to your stabilizer and your fabric before it starts sewing the column stitch here, the text. And you also have a tie-off stitch so that before a trim takes place, it'll actually put a little tie-in stitch so it'll lock it down so that once it does a trim, the thread won't unravel. So it's pretty standard when working with text to use both the basic tie-in and tie-off, and by default it automatically put that in here for you. The other option that you'll see that you'll use a lot with text is right here in the text commands for this commands tab. You'll see that the color change, it says none, meaning it's not going to change colors. It's going to use the same color throughout. You do have the ability to change the color between characters. If I hit apply, you'll see that it changed it between characters. You can do it between words and lines. This right now I only have the word one word, so it won't show up. But if I selected words and I had two words, the first one would maybe be in green, the first word, and then the second word would be in like a red. So it kind of follows in that kind of a pattern. Let's see here, we can come into even lines of text. So let me go ahead and let me come back to the text commands. Let me go ahead and put this back to normal and hit apply. And I'm going to type back in the word basketball and hit apply. You can see that right now I have two different colors, and the reason for that is because in my commands tab I told it to change color between lines of text. If I come back in here and I do it between characters, you'll see that it has a different color between each character. Again, you can do it between words and hit apply, and it's kind of similar in this case to the lines because the second word happens to be on the second line, so it automatically switched it to it. The other option you have in here is the trim. Right now it is select to trim between character. So what that means is in between each letter it's going to do a trim. And sometimes you want that when there's a lot of spacing, but sometimes you don't when the letters are really close to each other. Anytime you can minimize trims, the better. So let's go ahead and let's do it between let's do none and hit apply. And you'll see this little line here. You'll notice that it's a dotted line over here, meaning it's actually going to do a trim, even though I selected not to. And that's because of the settings that I have, that anything that's over a certain length, a distance apart, it will automatically put a trim in. You'll notice that if I we have another version for editing in here, but let me go ahead and move these a little bit. You can see that that changed from a dotted line to a solid line. And that one did too, only because I got it closer to the other letter. And let's go ahead and we can do it, we can go into those settings again, under those command settings, and let's do it between words. So it's going to only trim between words. Let me go back to the color change at none so you can see that they're both the same color. So it's going to do a trim. The way I can see that is if I hit this little icon right here, the commands, it'll show me the little scissors letting me know that after this R it's going to trim before it goes and starts sewing out the bottom section here. So let's go to trims again and do between lines. It's kind of the same thing. It's going to do a trim between these two lines of text. And then we go ahead and hit and select none again, and you'll see that it takes those scissors off. We can do it between characters again and hit apply, and you can notice that it's going to do a trim after each letter. So you do have a lot of ability to modify and work with the text. There's a lot of options available. You'll definitely want to explore the commands tab when you have the text up on your screen, so that you can modify the color changes and the trims and make sure that you have a tie-in and a tie-off stitch. So this is the basic settings for working with text. Take some time to play around with the height, the spacing, line spacing, changing it to circular text. You can also do the starting from left to right, right to left in your sewing sequence, or even changing the alignment all the way to the left, all the way to the right, or in the center like it is right now. So take time to play with it, because there's a lot of functionality in there, and make sure you watch the video on how to adjust and modify the text.